All right, let's talk about something every project manager knows deep down. Every project starts with what seems like a perfect plan, but then reality hits. Today, we're diving into how earned value management, or EVM, isn't just some reporting chore, it's your command center for mastering the chaos of real world change and risk. So, let's just start right here. You've poured weeks, maybe even months, into crafting the perfect plan. Every task is laid out, every single dollar is accounted for. What could possibly go wrong? Well, if you've been around the block, you know the answer is pretty much everything. The real world is messy and unpredictable, and that's exactly where the true test of your management system begins. You know, when reality throws that curveball, a project really only goes down one of two paths. On one side, you've got project control. This is where change is handled with discipline, where risk is managed proactively. But on the other side, that's project chaos. It's a world of scope creep and putting out fires, and it almost inevitably leads to a crisis. The tool that keeps you firmly on that path of control is a solid EVM system that's built to handle change. So to get us there, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with what happens when those perfect plans meet reality. Then we'll get right into the nuts and bolts of controlling baseline changes, how to weave in risk management, and how to properly use that all-important buffer called management reserve. And finally, we'll tie it all together to show you how to build a plan that's genuinely resilient. Okay, first up, when plans meet reality. Think of your initial plan, your performance measurement baseline, or PMB. It's like a ship's perfectly charted course before it even leaves the harbor. It's absolutely essential, right? But it's just the starting point. The real journey, the real test, begins the moment you hit the open sea with its unpredictable weather and currents. So, if we know the plan is going to have to change, how in the world do we do it without everything descending into chaos? Well, that brings us right to our next section, controlling baseline change. This is all about making disciplined, thoughtful adjustments, not just reacting wildly to every little thing. The official term for this is replanning. And listen, this isn't about erasing your history and pretending a problem never happened. No, replanning is a structured, formal change to your PMB that happens within the overall constraints of your total authorized budget, what we call the contract budget baseline. It's like deciding to change your route to avoid a storm, but you still have the same amount of fuel and the same final destination. Now this is so important. These are the rules of the road. On the left, you've got legitimate reasons to replan. You know, the customer asks for a change, or you properly move work and its budget together. But that don'ts column on the right, that's where projects go to die. And the absolute cardinal sin of EVM is right at the top. You never ever use a baseline change to hide poor performance. The second you change the plan just to make a bad variance look good, you've broken the entire system. You've lost all objectivity. So here's the formal process that keeps us honest and enforces those rules. It's not a free-for-all. See, a change has to be formally requested. Then its full impact on scope, schedule, and budget is analyzed. It has to be approved by the right level of authority, and only then is the baseline actually updated. This process creates a fully auditable trail, and that trail is your single best defense against scope creep. It makes sure every change is deliberate, understood, and documented. Okay, controlled change is fantastic for reacting to what's happening right now. But true project control, well, that's about seeing what's coming. And that brings us to integrating risk management. This is all about scanning the horizon for storms before they hit your ship. I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? If your plan is based on nothing but blue skies and sunny days and doesn't account for the things that could go wrong, it's not a realistic plan. It's a fantasy. Acknowledging and planning for risk isn't being pessimistic, it's the very foundation of a durable, achievable baseline. And the great thing is, EVM and risk management aren't these two separate worlds that never talk. They're deeply connected. Your risk analysis directly informs your estimates and helps you figure out how much management reserve you need. Your plans to mitigate risks become actual activities in your schedule and budget. And of course, ongoing risks have a direct impact on your forecast, your estimate at completion. They are absolutely two sides of the very same coin. This brings us to the absolute linchpin that connects change and risk, and that is using management reserve. If risk is the potential problem and change control is the process, then management reserve is the resource you use to solve it. It's the critical link. So what is it exactly? Management reserve, or MR, is a slice of the budget set aside specifically for unforeseen, in-scope work. Now, here's the crucial part. It is not part of your day-to-day working plan, the PMB. Let's go back to our ship analogy. The PMB is the fuel and supplies you've planned for the journey. The management reserve, that's the extra emergency rations and fuel you've got locked away in a separate hold, and you can only get to it with the captain's explicit approval when something truly unexpected happens. And this simple formula shows you exactly how it all fits together. Your total authorized budget, the CBB, is made up of your working plan, the PMB, plus that contingency buffer, the management reserve. The sum of the parts equals the whole. So when you need to use MR, you are formally moving budget from that reserve into the PMB to cover new unforeseen work, and you do it using that strict change control process we just talked about. And just like with baseline changes, there are super strict rules for using MR. The right way to use it is clear. You're dealing with a risk that has now become a real problem, or you're funding a proactive plan to stop a risk from happening. That's exactly what it's for. But the rules on the right are ironclad. You absolutely, positively cannot use management reserve to cover up for poor performance or to make a nasty cost variance just disappear. That's not an unforeseen problem. That's a performance issue, and it needs to be managed and reported, not papered over with contingency money. So let's bring all of this home. Let's build our resilient plan. When you combine that disciplined change control with proactive risk management, and it's all fueled by a properly managed management reserve, your plan transforms. It goes from being a fragile blueprint that shatters at the first sign of trouble into an adaptable, living guide for navigating the real world. And this right here, this is the payoff. This is why you do it. You get a baseline that actually reflects the real current plan. You get a transparent, auditable history of every single decision. You gain proactive control over risks instead of just lurching from one crisis to the next. You maintain the integrity of your performance data because you can clearly separate legitimate changes from performance problems. And ultimately, all of this gives everyone, from you to your team to your customer, so much more confidence in your forecasts and in the project's ability to actually succeed. So the final question I want to leave you with is this one. I want you to go back and take an honest look at your own projects. Is your baseline being treated like a static, fragile blueprint that's probably already out of date? Or is it a living, resilient plan, equipped with all the processes for change and risk that allow it to adapt, to overcome, and to guide you all the way to a successful finish? Thanks for tuning in.